Welcome to APTN National News. I'm Dennis Ward. We begin in Quebec, where Premier François Legault is defending comments he made during the opening of a new museum. The leaders of the Assembly of First Nations for Quebec and Labrador say Legault is systemically erasing the history and contributions of the original peoples of the area. On April 25th, during the announcement of the Museum of Quebec History, Premier Legault said the history of Quebec started with, quote, the French explorers Jacques Cartier and Samuel de Champlain, who was the founder of our nation. In a release this week, AFN Quebec Chief Ghislain Picard called the Premier's comments unacceptable. Picard says the Indigenous people in Quebec are, quote, inseparable from the history of this land, and the arrival of Champlain does not define Quebec. To suggest that we are prehistory amounts to relegating us to a secondary role. On Wednesday, Legault said the museum, set to open in 2026, will showcase the French-speaking Québécois, and the 11 Indigenous nations in Quebec will also be included.
And I think that the 11 nations of the Indigenous people wouldn't like to say that it's the same nation. Of course, there are things that we did together, but we're talking about the Quebec nation.
There wouldn't be a Quebec history if it wasn't for Indigenous peoples. So I think it's very, I would say, disrespectful.
The wildfire season is off to an early start this year, and the risk remains high in Western Canada. The federal government says nearly 90 fires are burning right now, and 7 are out of control. Most are in Alberta and British Columbia. The risk is highest out west because of drought conditions, but officials say so far the situation is better than it was at this time last year. Emergency Preparedness Minister Harjit Sajjan says there were many lessons learned from last year's record wildfire season. There's a housing crisis in the Northwest Territories, and it's been the status quo for years. According to the territorial government, nearly half of their housing units are either in a state of disrepair, too small for the number of people in them, or unaffordable. Our reporter Charlotte Moore-Jacobs takes us to the south shores of Great Slave Lake to hear about the challenges residents are facing.
Ryan Heron and his partner are saying goodbye to their 3-bedroom home on Katlodiche First Nation. Their landlord is moving back in.
Where the difficulty came in was not so much the having to move out. That was a challenge to say the least, but it was when we come down to actually trying to look for a place. I believe off the top of my head it was $2,100 for what they labeled as a single unit.
KFN has 600 members, but only 300 live in the community. Others are 20 minutes away in the town of Hay River. Heron and his partner are on a wait list for a plot of land to build on, but with their current eviction, they're going to house sit for a relative in Yellowknife for the time being.
A little more development on the lot is a possibility. We're entertaining possibly camping out there, so it buys us another couple months if these first 2 don't work out, but after that, then we're gonna have to think something for the winter.
Finding somewhere to rent in Hay River is a challenge. After a fire in 2019, the only high-rise in town remains vacant. According to the 2023 Hay River Strategic Housing Plan, availability of new housing is lower than it has been in 60 years. The effect? Slow economic development, limited work opportunities, and understaffed schools and hospitals. The plan cites a lack of contractors and high costs for hiring and building materials as significant barriers to development and ownership. There is some hope. This new 44-unit apartment building is set to open July 1st, but it will cost you. The going rate for a 1-bedroom is $2,100 a month. 2 bedrooms, $2,600. The local NWT housing office manages just under 200 units. 4 units were added in November, but supply isn't keeping up with demand.
The majority of our housing stock, particularly the detached houses, are not in good shape. a lot of them are reaching the end of the useful life. So, you know, if you're not seeing it from the inside, you'd say, okay, well, you know, look, Hay River has 4 more places. But what you're not seeing from the outside is, you know, we have probably shut down that many.
Carolyn Arcan has been renting from NWT Housing for nearly 3 decades. This unit is old and needs repairs inside and out.
And when it rains, it's probably right about here.
Her rent is based on her and her son's tax returns, but she says what she pays in rent fluctuates if they pick up contract work, and it's hard to budget one month to the next on what she'll owe.
I don't even know how much I paid into housing in the 30 years. Should I have owned a house by now? For sure, you gotta start thinking of the people that are living in your houses, paying you good money. And hey, there's little things that need to be done in here.
Arcan has a doctor's note asking for her air quality concerns to be taken seriously.
She says, are you having problems right now with breathing? I said, well, I'm doing a lot of spitting. I said, so in a sense, I guess I am, because one night here I woke up and it's like, and I had to.
And Arcan's concerns are likely to be echoed at the national level soon. Canada's Auditor General says her office will scrutinize the Housing Corporation later this year. Charlotte Mort-Jacobs, APTN National News, Hay River.
Thanks, Charlotte. A mother from Saugeen First Nation in Manitoba is organizing a helmet drive in honor of her late daughter. Katie Paycheck died in September 2021 after an ATV collision. She was not wearing a helmet. Since 2022, her mother, Marilyn Corshane, has been collecting helmets to give to riders in Saugeen to prevent another tragedy. Now Corshane hopes to expand her efforts by delivering helmets and safety workshops to other First Nations.
I feel safe with Saugeen, with these kids, and that they have helmets. But now I'd like to go more towards to talk to the chiefs here about their own communities. What I'm thinking now is to go into these other communities, along with the support of all the chiefs in Manitoba, to go in and say, listen, I'd like to go in and see if you guys, could fundraise or, do a in-kind donation to buy helmets for your community and do that awareness with the community.
We're always looking for your feedback or story ideas. Here's how you can continue the conversation. If you have a story you want to share, send us an email to news@aptn.ca. To read and watch our stories, go to our website, aptnnews.ca. You can also find us online on your favorite social media sites, including TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, and X. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. We have profiles of an Algonquin artist and a Chippewan artist coming up after the break. Stick around. Welcome back. A 21-year-old Algonquin artist has been on a natural high since his work was recognized by a well-known Indigenous actress. APTN's Annette Francis caught up with the young artist at his home on the Kitigan-Zibi First Nation in Quebec, and he was with the man who taught him how to put pencil to paper. Here's that story.
Gabriel Ottawa and his father Dean share in their love of art.
So for some reason, one of the first pieces I taught him how to do an eye.
Dean is not just Gabriel's dad, he's his first art teacher. When Gabriel was 10, Dean bought him an art table. He's been using it ever since and come a long way. Last week, his portrait of award-winning actress Lily Gladstone went viral on social media.
When she shared it on her post, I sent a DM and I just sent a message saying, like, thank you so much, like, I really appreciate this. But I didn't think she was gonna open it, you know, like. So then she responded back and we just had a conversation and we were both just thanking each other basically. And
in spite of that big boost to his ego, Ottawa says art is a form of therapy from his daytime job. He works in his community as a substance abuse counselor, which is sometimes taxing.
It's so therapeutic when you're sitting there and you're listening to your music and you just have kind of like you're just rethinking about your day or you're thinking about the movie or something. It's a complete, I don't know what the proper word is, but kind of like not a distraction, but a really good form of therapy.
Ottawa's dad is a mental health worker. His creative outlet is painting paddles.
I'll do my artwork just to come off from work, and then I'll join my family for supper or whatever, and then I'll jump back on my table, and then that's the end of my day. He'll start his artwork late at night. He's up all night, and then when I get up in the morning, I see what he's accomplishing.
A cure for stress is why he's encouraged art all these years.
We have a daughter too as well who is also a counselor, and she also does her own artwork, doing beadwork, sewing, crafts, birch bark. So we've kind of made sure they've always had some kind of art to fall back on. And it really helps them, it grounds them as well.
Ottawa says he's still on cloud 9. He's not sure where he wants to go with this talent.
it's hard to say if I want to get into galleries and things like that. Part of me really wants to get a lot of attention, you know, sometimes we crave that. But at the same time, I'm very happy where I'm at with it. I just like making stuff, and if there's, I do it mainly for myself, and if somebody's interested in buying a painting of a character or something along those lines, I'm like, just have it, you know.
Ottawa's next goal is to attend the Ottawa Comic-Con with some of his finished portraits. Annette Francis, APTN National News, Kitigan-Zibi, Quebec.
Great story. The Métis Nation Saskatchewan has officially broken ground on a childcare centre. The centre will provide children with Métis culture, language, and teachings in a safe environment. Video journalist Rachel May was at the official ground blessing.
Because all the things that we're doing here benefits everyone, not only Métis, First Nations, and non-Indigenous people. Everyone benefits.
Métis Nation Saskatchewan President Glenn McCallum spoke at the official site of a new Métis childcare facility. MNS officially broke ground on the new Early Learning Childcare Métis Centre of Excellence yesterday afternoon in Saskatoon. Vice President Michelle Leclerc says this centre is a big step to ensure Métis children are given the opportunity to learn their culture.
Opening daycare centres to revitalize language, culture, have our children in a safe space, and allowing our families to have affordable daycare.
Not only will the center provide space for 90 children, but also 29 full-time jobs, and 4 part-time jobs will be created. Kathy Pruden-Nansel represents MNS members in Saskatoon. She says the new facility will be the first urban Métis childcare center in Saskatchewan.
Our kids are going to be in a Métis cultural environment, hear their language, see their cultural symbols, be around their elders. Those are all things, unfortunately, many of our family members were deprived of.
The center is set to open in the fall of 2025. Rachel May, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
In a busy world, it's not easy to prioritize self-care, but it's exactly what one Chippewan artist in Yellowknife wants you to do. Our reporter Charlotte Moore-Jacobs brings us this story about silent healing through meditation and art.
This is Medicine Power.
Eileen Marlowe thanks meditation for her creative expression on canvas. The Chippewan Dene artist aligns herself spiritually, asking for guidance every day.
I may be thinking about a particular thing or issue or situation, and with that in mind, I will paint and look to transforming that particular issue or thing that I'm dealing with that I would like to see transformed. And I find painting abstractly and with different textures and colors, I honestly feel that it does something to me inside, that it makes some sort of shift inside me. The call to connect with spirit.
She is sharing her journey of self-discovery in print.
Personal medicine power. The second message from the black bug was to let me know that as individuals, we have unknowingly given our personal medicine powers away. This is also
the book deconstructs colonial practices of being and knowing.
We were not taught to think from our heart space. We were taught to think from our head, and the type of thinking that comes out of us is divide, conquer, compete, and control type of mentalities. And it's ingrained in every single one of us.
As a go-getter in the professional world, Marlowe admits she too was caught up in the rat race. But during the COVID-19 pandemic, she took up meditating, and unbeknownst to her at the time, a whole new life.
I learned that there's something inside me, inside my heart, that exists for my highest good. And I've also learned that it's this place here that that has actually changed my life, really, actually. You know, I never thought I'd be an avid meditator. I certainly never thought I'd become an abstract artist.
The book encourages creativity, especially in the North, which lacks institutional wellness spaces. She says art has the ability to put a person through silent healing.
Healing can take place right in your living room or in your kitchen, wherever you have your stuff set up. And there's a lot of really beautiful feelings associated with painting and art. And yes, it does have the potential to stir up some uncomfortable things and feelings inside of you. But that's the beauty of art.
The call to connect with spirit is currently being printed for distribution, and Marlowe anticipates an in-person launch in the future. Charlotte Moore-Jacobs, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
Yukon fashion designer Heather Dixon, who is Tlingit, Tagish, and Newhalk, is celebrating after her beadwork was showcased on the red carpet at this year's Met Gala in New York this past Monday. She made a total of 11 pieces of beautifully handcrafted beadwork for Lakota and Gwich'in fashion model and activist Kwana Chasing Horse, who wore her beadwork proudly at the Met. Heather joins us now from the Yukon for more. Heather, thanks so much for being with us, and congrats as well to yourself.
Thank you.
Can you tell us first, I guess, how you managed to be a part of the Met Gala and working with Chasing Horse?
Yeah, so April 18th, I opened up my Instagram and there was a DM from Kwana basically asking if I could do this and in like the limited amount of time that we had. And I was like, I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna make it happen. So I agreed to.
Yeah, no kidding. Not a lot of time for sure. How long did it take you to make these pieces? And can you tell us about the materials you used?
Yeah, so like I'm from up north and our mail takes like a really long time. So I knew I had shorter than what we thought we had. Mm-hmm. I did everything in 9 days. I collaborated with an artist in Calgary, Melanie Parsons of Savage Rose Designs, and she helped me with the earrings. She shipped them back. We had to ship them down. it was like a whirlwind. It was really quick. There is caribou hair tufting. There is home-tanned moose hide. Darla Campbell from Saskatchewan tanned the hide. Actually did a trade with her. Lots of beads, silver beads, dentalium shells, feathers, a lot of natural materials.
Mm-hmm. Well, awesome stuff in such a short period of time. Did you ever think that your work would be featured on such a huge stage?
Never. It was a dream I have never even said out loud because it just felt so impossible to ever reach. I used to watch the Met in college and like never even dreamed about having any of my work there. So yeah, it was a dream. It was a dream I didn't know I could have.
Yeah, awesome. What's been the reaction since then?
Really positive. A lot of really great feedback. A lot of people feeling prideful seeing moose hide at the Met. I think it's the first moose at the Met. And seeing like our natural luxury materials alongside celebrities wearing millions of dollars worth of diamonds.
That's a good tagline, the first moose at the Met, for future advertising for yourself. What is your message to other young artists out there?
Maybe no dream is too big, I guess. Like just keep pushing through and learning your culture, and it'll take you places.
Yeah, inspiring stuff. Heather, again, congrats. Wish you all the best in the future. Thanks for being with us here to talk about it.
Finishish.
Stick around. After the break, we'll talk to our very own digital media editor, Jesse Andrusko. Welcome back. Joining us live in studio now is our digital media editor extraordinaire, Jesse Andrushko to tell us a little about what's going on the website. Thanks for joining us, Jesse. Appreciate that. People will know we've been sharing some poll questions all week. You've got some poll results. Can you walk us through some of those?
Yeah, so we calculated the results. So our first question, since the Trans Mountain pipeline is now operational, we want to know whether First Nations should get involved in fossil fuel industry or look for greener methods of energy. A majority of respondents voted look for greener methods, totaling 53%. 36% said First Nations should get involved in fossil fuels, and 11% voted unsure. Our next question was, would your community be better off if it was detached from Canada's Charter of Rights and Chief and Council had full control over decisions? 44% said no, their community wouldn't be better off. 31% answered not sure, and 25% answered yes. Lastly, we wanted to know what the biggest impediment to moving back home was for some of our viewers. 38% said housing was the biggest impediment, 33% said work, and 28% voted other. So some interesting insight there. Thanks to everyone that took the time to vote.
Thanks indeed. Love having the poll questions up on the website. Another cool feature that we're trying to get off the ground. Can you tell us a little bit about the weather?
Yeah, so we're looking to start a new segment on APTN National News called Weather Spotlight. Really, we're just looking for viewers to send in a report, a weather report from their community. So they can go to aptnnews.ca/weather spotlight. And yeah, it takes a few seconds, just take a quick video, walk outside in the morning, you hold your phone up, and yeah, tell us what the weather's like and submit it, and you might see yourself on air.
Love this idea. I really hope some people take this up and send their videos to us, and we can air them here as well.
Agreed, yeah, should be really interesting.
Good stuff, Jesse. Appreciate you joining us here today.
Thank you.
That is about all the time we have for your early edition of the APTN National News. Of course, for news anytime, you can visit that website, aptnnews.ca. And we'll be back here again at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm Dennis Ward. Thanks for being with us. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.